Hey guys, this is Julian. I'm going to ask you a question. Have you paid for ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini? Well, you probably have. But what if there was one out there that you can just pay one very low price and get all of them in one? So, how you doing? Long time no see.
I'm doing pretty good, the typical ups and downs of owning a tech business. Always
Yeah.
something going on.
But let's
Yeah.
talk about you. So, I mean, you're from the East Coast and
hmm
fairly young. And so you came up with this and
Well, is 40 still young?
yeah, it's very young for me, you know. You look great, by the way. So
Thank you.
I found you. I was this club I was invited to, and you came as a guest. So tell me, what got you thinking about this? How'd you end up doing this? And is your background in this industry, or was it in? I know you love to act, so was theater the first thing, and all of a sudden you're going to act like you're an AI tech? What was?
No. Good. I mean, great question. So when I moved out to California to pursue acting, I went to acting school and that was really all I cared about is just, trying to tell stories. I loved telling stories. And in the industry, it's hard. It's one of the most competitive industries in the world.
Yeah.
And were a lot of tall white guys that looked like me, already established, who had more connections, more relationships with the people they need to have relationships. It's not what you know, it's who you know. And it's especially true in Hollywood, I think. I ended up taking a role as a youth director at my local church. They had a satellite campus down in Woodland Hills and they needed a youth director. And so I took on that role for several years, put the acting on hiatus.
Mhm.
While I was doing that, this whole social media thing took off. This was, 2008, peak Facebook, when kids were really taking to Facebook and social media was starting to blow up.
Mhm.
I always had a knack for technology. I loved technology. I remember sitting in my grandpa's basement as a kid and my grandpa was basically a spy for the Navy, and he had all kinds of technology that my dad had set up for him in his basement. I loved it, gadgets and everything. So I had this proclivity for technology. Long story short, I learned this social media marketing. I learned how to build websites because I wanted to make my own blog and I didn't like the way everybody else's looked. I actually was a trained graphic designer. So I
Okay.
wanted to design my own website, my own blog. And then through social media, I started growing a following. All of a sudden, people are asking me, "Hey, you seem like you know what you're doing in building websites. Can you build our website? And
Mhm.
can you consult us on how to use social media for our business?" And I ended up creating an agency. So for about 10 10 solid years, all I was doing was building websites for clients and driving traffic to them through social media marketing and SEO.
If somebody were to be able to start doing what you did, it wouldn't be the same door. It wouldn't be the same road. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean the channels have definitely changed. YouTube is the new blogging.
Yeah.
That's really where it is. Podcasting is the new
Mhm.
blogging.
Mhm.
But really, YouTube is the new podcasting
Yeah.
because everybody's moving to YouTube anyways.
Yeah.
So, there's ways those same tactics in commenting, adding value, and then putting your own stuff out in the world to showcase your expertise. That formula still exists. It just
Mhm.
kind of shifts
Mhm.
platform wise. Now it's Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. Those are the biggest channels right now.
I focus on behavioral science, right? I focus on the pathways of the brain and neural
Mhm.
pathways. And I find a lot of people are losing their own creativity and just relying on AI to do it. What do you
Right,
think about that and like how society is now leveraging AI? The
right.
concept of,
And I talk about that all the time.
oh, you do? Okay.
AI should be a partner,
Yeah.
not a crutch.
Mhm.
It should be an assistant, not a replacement to
Mhm.
your creativity or to your skill set.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is a whole rant. I don't know how deep down this path you want to go, but I mean, if
Yeah.
you just leave your brain behind and let the AI do the work for you without checking it, without adding your perspective, you're going to get garbage content.
Mhm.
It's going to be bad. And the greatest strength that we have as humans is our unique combination of experiences and perspectives.
Right.
That's something that AI doesn't have. AI
Mhm.
has all the knowledge. That's its weakness and its strength, that it sees a lot of angles. But our strength is our unique combination of how we see the world.
Yeah.
It's also a weakness to an extent. I think a lot of the problems in our world now is our inability to see other people's perspectives.
I would love to kind of pivot a little bit and kind of get to how did it evolve from your blogs and ghostwriting to, hey, I think I want to create something else.
What I found as a consultant was I'm a bit of a perfectionist,
Mhm.
and I really want to spend the time to craft things and make sure it's just the best it can be before it goes out. The problem with that is I take way too long. Working with clients doesn't scale well as a business for me. I would either have to, find a way to have more clients, or I would have to charge my clients a lot more. And I just couldn't find the right way to scale that. I found myself burnt out, working with 20, 30 different clients. I just couldn't do it. I had a revelation one day, like, what if I instead put all this perfectionism into a single product that didn't just help one person, but helped hundreds of thousands, even millions of people.
Mhm.
And in 2014, I started my first software company with a couple of partners. It was a WordPress plugin. Might
Wait, you
make
said you didn't build on Wix? I mean, come on.
no, no, did not do Wix. Although I will admit, my first actor, when I was an actor, I built my first actor website
Mhm.
on Wix
You did?
before
Okay.
I taught myself how to build websites. I had two other product ideas that I tried to launch, even brought in a couple investors. I thought these two software products are going to change the world. I wanted to build something AI oriented before AI was even a possibility, before ChatGPT was a glimmer in Sam Altman's eye.
Mhm.
Um, but I just couldn't get them off the ground. I didn't have the resources, the funds, and so they failed miserably.
Mhm.
So come the end of 2022, ChatGPT hits the scene. I was one of the first users to get my hands on it when it went public, and I instantly saw the writing on the wall. It was almost like I had a revelation of, oh, this is a paradigm and this is the AI we've been waiting for. I'd used other AI tools before that, but when ChatGPT gave us this new mode of interacting with AI, it was like I saw the next 3 to 5 years and what was going to happen.
Mhm.
I was in a place where I was broke. I was not just financially broke, I was mentally, emotionally, and spiritually broken because of all the failures that had happened over the last several years. As I'm using ChatGPT, I'm like, well, why doesn't it do this? Why doesn't it do that? Oh no, there's this other AI thing over here. I guess I have to have another subscription to that too. And oh, this other one over here, I need to have another subscription to that too. Man, why is this all over the place? People are going to hate this. And having experience, my last product was a subscription business, a subscription model. And I knew from a human behavior standpoint, subscription fatigue is a real thing.
It is.
People hate having to have another subscription. It's a real barrier to entry for a lot of people. So I thought to myself, well, I think I can make a better version of ChatGPT, getting all the features that I think are missing from it. But what if I also found a way to wrangle in these other AI models into one seamless interface so that people don't have to have 15 different subscriptions? They can have them all in one place. And by the grace of God, I managed to find some tutorials online and some no-code building tools. So there's a platform called Bubble, which will allow you to make fully functioning apps and never having to touch any code. I bought a course that taught you how to build an app with Bubble, and it took me several weeks to really get the hang of it. But from start to finish in about 8 weeks, once I had decided to build what I initially had the idea of Magi to be, it took me 8 weeks start to finish to build a working prototype that I could release to the public.
Say what?
Wow. So 8 weeks to build. No one has a problem with you having Gemini and Perplexity and all the other programs, apps in there.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, so it's something a lot of people don't understand. It's
Yeah,
one of the questions I get asked all the time, like, how are you able to, for $20, get all of them?
right.
And it's actually really simple. So all of these companies have what's called an API. An API is simply one app talking to another app and utilizing their services through a back-end server connection.
So
Almost
it's like a point to point where they can talk to each other outside.
right.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, think of the piping
Mhm.
that goes from the water company to your house. That's the API, right? There's just a connection that makes that possible. And that's what an API is. And so all of these companies, they have these APIs. that are purpose built for developers like me or anyone else to pull that technology into another app and utilize it effectively.
Okay.
Now, I don't pay $20 a month to each of these companies
Yeah.
for every one of my users. I pay based on how much is used, just like your water bill.
Mm.
You know, however much water you use, that's how much you pay the water company. Same goes for all these AI companies. So I've integrated all of them. And when one of my users uses ChatGPT, I get charged for every single message that is sent. And at the end of the month, I got to pay a bill. They
Yeah.
love us developers. And that's because we are pure profit for them
Mm.
from a business standpoint. So there have been many reports that came out about how ChatGPT is actually losing money. And that's because they're trying to give as much as they can away for free.
Mm.
But for us, the developers who are using their API, every single transaction that's made is billed, right?
Okay.
So we are 100% pure profit for them.
Question for you. How did you come up with the name?
It's a good question as well. So when I was using ChatGPT for the first time, I remember thinking, man, this is magical.
Mm.
And put words in and it does things. It's kind of like Harry Potter, you know,
Mm.
Wingardium Leviosa, you know, it
Mm.
does the thing just from your words. And so I was trying to come up with a name. I'm like, you know, I want it to be have this combination of magic and AI, you know, to have this, you know, this concept of, you know, this experience of feeling magical. And I thought magic, AI,
Mm.
magi, you know, like the wise men who visited Jesus, you know,
Right,
that's a
right.
real word.
Yeah.
And just combine the two and came up with magi. And there
That's
you have it.
awesome. One thing I love that you have is something that I always complained about when I first started using AI, or say that you have folders. So give me a little understanding of that because I think that being able to create folders for things is a unique resource.
That was one of the first things that I thought of. So there were really two big things out of the gate that I hated about ChatGPT. Is that it wouldn't let me search through my old chats. It was just an endless list in the sidebar that I had to scroll through. Was that it? No, is
Yeah.
that it? No, is that it?
Oh, you did that too. Okay. I thought it was just me. Okay.
Yeah, no, I hate it. So I built a search bar into it. And then the second thing was folders. So I
Mhm.
was extremely organized when it came to my client work, my personal projects, my business. So I wanted to be able to like folder off the different things that I was working on. And so I built folders into Magi from day one so that you can, yeah, ChatGPT does now have a search. You know, it took them 2 years.
Mhm.
They don't have folders, but they have projects.
Mhm.
We call them workspaces. We had
Yeah.
those from day one.
Yeah.
Um, and they also have GPT. So
Mhm.
about a year and a half ago now, maybe they released this idea of GPTs.
Mhm.
We've always called them personas from day
Oh, okay.
one.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't even call them GPT. So yeah, personas. So yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So great segue. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of, especially in corporate, again, this is focused on corporate people that aren't so savvy in the AI world, but they know it exists. But I have heard you were talking about the importance of personas. And so can you
Yeah.
define that as if you're talking to a fifth grader, the importance of building, and you have a lot of those in Magi, which is great. You already have built-in personas, but give us a little understanding of what that means.
Yeah. So in simplest terms, think of it this way. Every person at your job has a role, right? They have a role that they are there to fulfill, and that role sort of defines how they interact with the tasks that you give them, right? You give your assistant, you know, a task. She approaches that task like an assistant. Or if you go to, you know, your marketing copywriter, you usually only give them marketing copywriting tasks, right? They approach everything like a copywriter. Every conversation you have with an AI, that AI, whether you know it or not, has been given a role. And that role is predefined in something called the system prompt. So you're going to sit there and you're going to send your prompts to the AI, but it's actually been given a prompt before the conversation even started. And that system prompt is its most important instruction. It is
Uh,
the highest priority for it to filter everything through the lens of that system prompt.
mm,
What a persona is essentially that role, that system prompt. You know, in Magi, we allow you to sort of customize and create different personas based on the task at hand. And we built personas in because there was loads and loads of data that showed if you give the AI a role and very specific instructions around a given task, you get far better output. You're no longer getting the generic responses to your tasks. You're getting very finely tuned responses that are, exponentially better. Everyone complained in the beginning, like, "Oh, this sounds like AI wrote it." Well, that's because
It
you
did.
probably had it written by a generic AI assistant persona.
Got it. So give me an idea how that works. And I just want you to say it because if I say it, no one will believe me. So let's have you say it.
I have a persona that is Dustin's blog writer. And what I've done is I've given that AI samples of my writing, and I've said, analyze this writing and then come up with, how you would describe my writing style. And then I had the AI, come up with that summary. And then what I did is I took that summary and I put it into we have a way where you can create a persona. There's a little text box there where you write your instructions, the system prompt for that persona. And I just stuck that in there, saved it, and I made some modifications to be as specific as possible how I want it to write. And so it's just a job description, essentially, telling the AI, you are Dustin's blog writer.
Yeah.
You write in this style, and then just list out the style. And then when Dustin asks you to write this, here's the format you use, blah, 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 blah. So as specific as you can be, you just give that AI the instruction and you save it in Magai as a persona. So the next time you want to do that particular task, you just open up the box, you say, I want to switch to this persona, and then you start chatting with that AI who is now embodying that personality or that job or
And
that
how many
role.
personas can you have in there?
In Magi, we don't limit you. You
Oh,
can
wow.
you can build as many personas as you need. We think of it as your AI workforce. But we do have, when it comes to like which AI model would be
Okay.
best, we have an auto model. So if you look at the list,
Yeah.
right at the top, it says auto.
Hmm.
If you select auto, and then you send a prompt, before that prompt is actually sent to an AI, we have another AI that's going to evaluate the prompt and it's going to route it to the model that is best suited for that particular prompt.
Got it.
And it's not perfect in every scenario, but it has been trained on millions and millions of different prompts and understands which AI models are best at what types of tasks and will attempt to route it to the one that's best for your specific prompt in that
All
moment.
this for $20?
This guy Louis Dumps over here, he owes me $20. It's
Really?
All that for $20 a month. Yeah.
Dustin, that just seems, and I mean, after looking at all the things that I've paid for over the years, are you kidding? Can I get my money back? My God. So it's insane. So which AI is best?
I think GPT, the newest one being GPT-5, is the most creative. It
Oh,
has the
really?
best, most out of the box ideas. Whenever I'm brainstorming and I need different, ideas, or I'm in the early stages of crafting something, I usually go to GPT-5 for the maximum creativity. But it's not a great copywriter.
Mm,
I found the best copywriter. If I want to write something that a human is going to read, I found Claude to be the most human-like writer,
mm,
by far. So
mm,
anytime I need to write something, I'm going to Claude to help me refine my writing.
mm,
And primarily Claude for Sonnet. That's my current favorite. I
mm.
tend to like Gemini for highly structured documents. It
Okay.
tends to be really good at complex structure,
Mhm.
for like documents type stuff. But when it comes to coding, again, there's debate about this, but I find Claude to be a better code writer, more accurate and more consistent. And
Yeah.
this is also why it's such a benefit to have all of them at your disposal.
Mm,
Because when they're all in one place, when they're all just a single click away, you can experiment freely in the same environment, in the same space, so that you can get a great baseline for, I'll try this prompt with ChatGPT. Okay, that was okay. I'll try it again with Claude.
mm.
Okay, I'll try it again with Gemini. Once you start to play a little bit with them, you'll find very quickly which one fits what you're looking for best.
How many pages can it take for editing? If you wanted to edit a book or anything, could you just drop the whole PDF in there, or do you have to have a certain limit?
Yeah, so different models have different limits.
Yeah.
Many people don't know this, but AI actually has a very limited memory.
Mm,
You might have a conversation that goes on for days and days and days and days, but at some point you might realize, wait, did you forget about this other thing that we set up here?
mm,
And the reality is probably because Claude, for example, has the technical term is a context limit. The
Yeah.
context limit of Claude is 200,000 tokens. A token could be a word, or
Mhm.
it can be a fraction of word, or
Okay.
it can be multiple words. It,
Okay.
it really is an abstract thing that the AI models, it's the relationship between characters and the relationship between, it's all math
Okay.
essentially.
Okay.
But suffice to say, 200,000 tokens is roughly about 160 to 170,000 words
And that is
um,
for the paid version or the free version or both?
for all versions. They
Okay.
they all have that same limit.
Okay.
Um, Now, so that's Claude, right? OpenAI, their GPT model, I'll have to double check this, so I'm not spreading falsehoods, has a 400,000 token limit.
Mhm.
So twice as much as Claude.
Okay.
But then they have GPT 4.1, which has a million token limit.
Okay.
And then you have Gemini. There's one version of Gemini that has a 2 million context window. The more you give them to process, the more likelihood there is that they mix something up or mess something up. Just think of it like a memory stick. You and I are old enough to have gone through, memory of, floppy disks
Yeah.
and, thumb drives.
I got
Thumb
eight
drives are
track on my
still
background,
Tape.
buddy. So let's.
there you go. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
the idea of like a thumb drive, for example, or
Mm.
even our phones, before our phones had like ridiculous amounts of memory, you'd fill it with photos, right? And you don't have any more storage. So what do you have to do? You have to delete some of the photos to make
Yeah.
more room. So
Okay.
that's essentially what the AI is doing in real time. When you hit that max limit, it's going to actively, from the beginning, start to remove items from its memory so
I
that it's
see.
always staying within that context limit.
Got it. Okay. Okay. Good to know.
So to answer your question, you probably can put a whole PDF in there that's, like a full length of a book. The
Mhm.
average book is what, 100,000, 150,000
Yeah.
words.
Something like that. Yeah.
But what you're going to do is you're going to end up maxing out the context limit. So it's going to have to immediately forget a whole lot of that context
Mhm.
just to produce more words for you.
Before we end, I want to get to a space where you talk about some of the philosophical belief systems that this impact is going to have on us as a culture, because of the quick access to information, even more information than we ever dreamed possible. I
Mhm.
love reading. I have books. I love collecting books. I love old books. I love reading and writing in my books, and it's a calming thing. But I do find we're in a space where we're getting cursory knowledge. We're getting almost like high level overviews and calling that like knowledge when it really is just high level information. So,
Mhm.
how do you feel about how this might impact from education to even, I talk about behavioral science, from even social
Mhm.
manipulation to who the gurus are, who the influencers are, who the speakers are for the next generation with the concept of AI being involved. What's your thoughts about how this might impact the world?
I mean, that's a great question too. The fears and worries that came with the onset of the internet. And again, you and I are old enough to have seen this. When the internet came around and Google was first unveiled to the world, there was a lot of fear around, well, if kids can just Google all the answers to their tests, they're never going to learn. If they could just go look it up on the internet, why would they ever open a book?
Mm.
And we see that, sure, there's some degree of truth to that, but by and large, kids still learn. It hasn't undermined our education, in the way that we thought it would.
Yeah.
And I don't have that fear. Sure, people are going to use AI to shortcut things. They're going to shortcut knowledge, access, and so forth. But I believe in education.
Mm.
And I think just like the internet boom, there's a lot of businesses going to be left behind by this
Mhm.
technological overhaul that we're having. And we need educators out there teaching people how to use this technology. I think by and large, we as humans are going to evolve with the technology. And we're still going to learn. We still need to learn how to read and write, right? And we still need to have good teachers in place that force us to use and flex our creative muscles, right? Not use these AI as a crutch, but to learn from it. And I'll give you a great example of how I'm teaching my kids how to use AI to not just be lazy, but to actually learn and educate them and expand their knowledge. So we have image generators inside of Magi, right? And we also have, the thing about image, generating an image with AI, you have to be super descriptive.
Mhm.
The better you are at describing the picture, the better the picture ends up, right? So think about it like this. If you're telling an artist to paint something for you, you have to tell them in as much detail what you want them to paint. If you don't give them all the details they need, they have to invent the details to fill in that space. But,
So,
as a kid, you don't have that vocabulary.
mhm,
So I built into Magi a prompt enhance button
mhm.
where you can write a very dead simple prompt, almost no description whatsoever. Hit that prompt enhance button. What the AI is going to do is going to craft that description for you so that it's got all that rich detail in there, and then you can make changes to that
Okay.
detail that fits your vision for what you want the AI
So
to
you're
generate.
actually teaching how to be descriptive. You're helping us know what descriptive means, being more.
Right. So
Gotcha.
that prompt enhance could be a lazy button, but what I'm teaching my kids to do is read through that description,
Hmm.
see what words it used and which words you may want to replace. Maybe you didn't want an orange tabby cat. Maybe you wanted a black cat with blue eyes.
Hmm.
My kids' vocabulary has
Mhm.
greatly increased
Right.
because they're using this as not just a lazy button, but as a learning tool.
If there's a word
And
they don't understand, do they look it up and figure it out, or?
yeah, well,
Yeah.
they'll ask me and I'll be like, oh,
Well,
that word means
essentially,
this. Of
we,
course.
we only use 5% of our language anyway, so it's actually a great
Right.
thing that helps build a vocabulary, which is really creates a whole different perception of how you see life. So that's a great way to show how AI could help,
Mhm.
especially with kids. That's a great thing to bring up. I'm glad you brought that up. So you and I are kindred spirits in so many things. I really appreciate you telling me what you shared earlier before we started getting on camera. Appreciate your family and what you're doing with your kids. I think Magi is great. I think anybody who actually goes in and just spends $20 for just 1 month to just try it out could be easily hooked. I mean, because it's definitely a go-to resource. I really thank you for having it. I appreciate you giving me the time. I really do.
Absolutely, Julian. It was a pleasure meeting you. I'm happy to do this anytime. You're a cool dude, man. I'd love to chat with you more.
Appreciate you.